We take a single episode of a science fiction TV series and overanalyze it to within an inch of its life. This is the Fusion Patrol Podcast. Welcome to the discussion. Hello, I'm Eugene.
And I'm David.
And this is Fusion Patrol. Welcome back. It's time for, well, I'd like to say I'm cheerful about it, but it's time for the last 2 episodes of Otherworld, that 1985 show that we've just been having so much fun with on the show. Tonight we're going to be looking at the, as I said, final 2 episodes. That is Mansion of the Beast and the Princess
Metra.
Yes. All right, Mansion of the Beast summary. It's Beauty and the Beast. You've seen it before. I'm not kidding. Complete with a, oh, you've got to come back. Oops, a little thing happened and I couldn't make it, but I meant to. And except it's mom this time and a beast. Oh, it's so bad. Let's talk about it. So, I didn't like it, but I assume that for the sake of discussion, you loved it, right?
No. Just,
all right.
Typical crap.
It would, every week we have pointed out, with the possible exception of even the first week, how artistically bankrupt this show really is. And this one's no different. It really is Beauty and the Beast. They're traveling through the forest. Well, they're traveling through the desert in a covered wagon because that's different, right? I mean, it's like we'll have new mode of transit each week.
Yeah.
And this week it happened to be covered wagon, which they bought from a miner somewhere. Anyway, they're traveling through some desert. Then they find some forest. Inside the forest, they find a poor little owl whose wing is hurt. And so Mom, who is, I think, a veterinarian.
Could be.
I mean, at least in one place, they got her a job as a veterinarian's assistant.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how you'd get that unless you knew something about veterinarians. So I think maybe she's a veterinarian. Anyway, she set the animal's wings. Meanwhile, a werewolfy-looking creature in the woods is, looking at her. And then he stops them, and he has some power, and he says, you guys can leave, but the girl, talking Mom, is coming with me, otherwise you're all dead. And so Mom's, first off, Dad gets himself knocked unconscious, because, Dad's out. Mom says, okay, get out of here, kids, take Dad, get out of here. And they're like, we're coming back for you, Mom! So Mom goes to this palace, and there's, the face in the wall that follows you with the eyes, and he can do anything he wants, and candles, and I'm going to keep you here forever because I'm lonely, and I'm going to make you love me. No, I'm never going to love you. And then she never does. Oddly enough, she never does.
No.
Now, unlike the standard Beauty and the Beast tale where Beauty, in this case Mom, falls in love with the Beast, she just pities him in this one. I mean, by the end, she feels sorry for him, and she doesn't want to hurt him, but she doesn't love him. Of course, because she's goddamn. Meanwhile, Dad's recovered because he was knocked unconscious for no actual apparent reason in the story, because it didn't give the kids a chance to do anything, because Dad just woke up a little bit later, and then that was And they meet up with this guy who's played by Gomez from the Addams Family, but with longer hair, and he's older. And he turns out to be the brother of the creature, and the creature had gone to Emar and when he was a man, and he'd gone through some sort of portal to get to a planet called Earth and gained superpowers, and he came back a monster. And that's what's going on, and his Beast. And he says, all right, fine, we can't let your mom go. I'll kill him. We got to kill him. They go up and they get a star fire, I think they call it. It's apparently periodic little crystals from space crash down in this lake, and they get it. They forge one arrow tip out of it. They go there. Meanwhile, Mom is like, I'll stay here, but just let me see my family one more time. And he says, yeah, okay, one day, but if you don't come back at the end of one day, I'm going to die. So she leaves, but the family have left, so she doesn't know where they are, and they know where they is, and then they come to the thing, and then she's coming back because she realizes that the family's going to go kill him because they left a note saying, hey, we're going off to kill the Beast. And then she comes back, but there's a rattlesnake in the middle of the road, and it scares the horse. She gets knocked off the horse. The horse comes rumbling back. The Beast, who is confronting Dad, who's got the arrow there, is like, you're going to kill me with that. He sees the horse come back, realizes she's not on the horse, thinks she betrayed him. They shoot him. He dies. Well, he doesn't really die. He dies, and then he
transforms back to a man.
Then she cries on him, and he transforms back to a man. And he tells him everything he knows about Earth, which is basically nothing except that you get to Emar and you go to this valley and stuff. It's so stolen right out of it. I mean, to say that this one is... The others were artistically bankrupt because they couldn't come up with new ideas. Right?
Yeah.
This one, they couldn't even come up with a new idea. It's Beauty and the Beast. It's literally Beauty and the Beast. There was a TV show about that time, wasn't there?
Yeah, somewhere around then. I don't know which came first.
The Linda Hamilton thing, which I have never understood the appeal of the Beauty and the Beast story.
No.
I know that there was like I think, and boy, this is such a generalization. This is a terrible generalization, and I apologize. I apologize to anyone who's saying this, but I'm putting this out there that it has been my observation that many of the women who really, really liked the Linda Hamilton Beauty and the Beast, there's something about the fact that A, he's a bit of a lion, which I think is a bit kinky. They like him because he's a bit lion, and also because he's got the soul of a poet, even though he's ugly. It's just very,
Yeah.
This guy didn't have the soul of a poet.
No.
No, I mean, he didn't even have that going for him. He didn't have the lion thing going. But, it lost all of the if there is charm to the story, it lost. What do you think about it?
I mean, you pretty much said everything there was. I mean, it covered it pretty well. I mean, to me, the episode didn't fit with what we had seen up to then. Like you said, he comes back with superpowers. He can control the weather just by snapping his fingers practically and make it storm. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, where did this all come from? Just because you visited Earth and you come back? We don't have that technology. So.
Yeah, this one is far more mystical.
Yeah. Yeah, not fantasy. Yeah, mystical would be the right word.
In the other episodes, trying to think about it, I mean, in the other episodes, as far as I can tell, everything has been alternate technology.
Yeah.
This is a little bit different. It's a little bit ahead of ours in some ways, but this was just kind of seemed like mystical claptrap, which I don't like. I mean, if I'm watching a fantasy show, I mean, you're watching Harry Potter, you gotta accept the magic and the funny hats and the hair. And
I mean, at the beginning when we were first meeting the character, if you want to call him the lion, if we want to.
Lion-O.
Yeah.
Thunder, Thundercats, ho!
I thought we were going to go more toward like an Island of Dr. Moreau type of thing, where with experimentation.
He did look a lot like an Island of Dr. Moreau. Let's face it, 1970s, 1980s Beast makeup was pretty unimaginative.
Yeah.
I thought he was a werewolf at first.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the title of the episode is Mansion of the Beast, which I suppose if you were to look at that and you'd go, oh, that's Beauty and the Beast, kind of thing. I should have known that. But at first I thought it was kind of this creepy werewolf thing that was keeping an eye on him. But then it rapidly devolved into this terrible...
And I know the family was threatened, but she seemed to just go way too easily and willingly, just immediately. There was no argument. It's just like, oh, okay, I'll go with you. You guys leave.
This family...
And give up the rest of my life with you guys.
This family is like so self-sacrificing. Have you noticed that? It's like, no, you guys go. I'll die here.
Yeah, second episode, Trace and the Zone Troopers. Hey, I'll go off. If you guys have to leave without me, that's fine. And then,
I mean, I think they're looking for an excuse to get away from one another. That's the best I can come up with. But this was just mom was I really do believe that we have misjudged this show. Not saying that it's good, not at all. But it really is not a story. It is not a science fiction story.
No.
This is a story about the family. And they just put the family in circumstances. And really, you're not supposed to care about the circumstance. You're supposed to care about the family. But I don't know about you. I don't care about the family. I don't, they're too plastic to me. And I am the guy who does not believe in shows where we have to make all the characters gritty and real and, show them wiping their butts because that's what reality's like in television and makes for great drama. I don't buy that. but these people are too far.
Yeah. There's no emotional connection or anything with them. I like them. They're likable people. But other than that.
They don't gel. I don't get it. They don't seem like a family to me. And apart from the fact that every once in a while they put in a scene where Dad shows he's really randy for Mom.
Yeah. And Smith, the little kid, doesn't do anything in any episode of the whole series. It's like he's always in the background. Sometimes we'll show him, sometimes we won't, just so you know he's there. And there's no, what is he doing? He's not playing on this, Game Boy or anything because
they didn't have Game Boys.
Yeah, exactly. What's he doing the rest of all this when all this is going on?
They really didn't do much in this one. Obviously, we had a little subplot with Dan and Trace and Gomez going out to get the Starfire and whatnot. But really, the other two just kind of hung around the cabin and
pretty much,
looked like set decorations. It's not a good story, and it's not a good series. And we've said that before. But so I have nothing of note. This was just killing time. Just killed time watching this episode.
Yeah.
Kind of, there were a few facepalm moments where you go, I can't believe they couldn't even come up. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, there are stories that we get in TV series that you have to slap your head. And I can give you a few examples. Every year, for many years, there was always at least one show that had to do a Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Right? All the time. And some shows would do it basically verbatim. If it was a drama show, it would actually be a Christmas Carol in some manifestation with all the plot twists that you would expect from a Christmas
Even though it doesn't fit into the way the show's made or anything.
Exactly. And then some shows, and I know we talked about this, well, not you and I didn't talk about this, but Simon and I think talked about this when Doctor Who did their Christmas Carol.
Yes.
See, apparently the British do not have this tradition of TV shows doing a Christmas Carol over and over and again. Whereas us growing up, some of us growing up in the United States, or at least watching syndicated TV shows, I mean, it's so common that you could just pick any show. And so the $6 Million Man had a Christmas Carol episode where Steve Austin was trying to convince this Scrooge-like guy who was making substandard parts for government contracts because he was adhering to the letter of the contract to make his maximum profit, and people's lives were getting harmed because of it. So he put on a Santa Claus outfit and used his bionic powers. I'm not kidding. Complete with making the guy's tombstone using his bionic fingernail.
Yeah.
And showing it's so sick. So there's that kind of show. There's The Most Dangerous Game. Now, that one is not very popular anymore. Well, Christmas Carol's not very popular anymore. I think American television may have grown beyond these tropes, but The Most Dangerous Game, which I love that book, and or novella. I don't remember how big it was in the original, but I remember reading it a long time ago. Many, many shows. Guy comes to an island. Haha, look, it's a nice island. I've got my private game reserve. But you see, I got bored hunting every other animal on the planet, and you're it. I'm going to give you an hour head start. And then pick a show. Logan's Run had that episode.
First time I remember seeing that on TV, I think it was the pilot of Fantasy Island, wasn't it?
I think there was a Fantasy Island
something
one.
Like that,
The Incredible Hulk had it. I've seen so many shows that have done that same one. Beauty and the Beast is not as common, but again, it's this is a bankrupt episode. I mean, I can picture the writers sitting down and going, well, can we do The Most Dangerous Game for that? And somebody goes, oh, everybody does that. Let's do Beauty and the Beast. It's it's not Christmas yet, so we can't do a Christmas Carol. I can imagine when they got to Christmas time, if this show had made it, that they would have done the Christmas Carol, somehow adapting it for the Church of the Artificial Intelligence.
Could very well be. Plus, they needed the episode to focus on the mother character, so.
Yeah, I guess we were due for a mom episode. Yeah. So, did you find when she's in this mansion, the Beast has the ability to the castle is magical, right? The castle now will grant you your every wish, except freedom, of course. You won't even have to think about it. So she goes near a fire. The fire rages up to keep warm up the room. Yep. She wakes up. The sheets pull back off of her, so she doesn't even have to pull the candles come on. There's something remarkably creepy about the sheets thing. Yeah. I mean, she had clothes on underneath it. So it wasn't like you were going to get something, racy on TV. But it's just something creepy about the sheets being pulled off of her. I would have, it's like, okay, the house is watching me. That one, the candles don't bother me. That's like an automated light. Yeah. But the sheets just, ugh.
It's kind of like some of the old Hammer films, maybe some of the Dracula stuff. Kind of felt maybe a little along that line.
Yeah. And obviously it wouldn't apply to her, but if this had happened to a guy, I mean, would the toilet raise or lower the seat depending on what you needed to do? I don't know. I think that would have been something they could have explored. There's something they could have explored. What about an ugly beast? An ugly beast, obviously. There's a clever idea. What about if the beast was a girl? We've never seen that one because Beauty and the Beast kind of doesn't go with. But the guy could be kind of, I don't know, fabulous, if you will. And perhaps in the 70s and 80s, they would like that, and he didn't know they were gay. So then we could convincingly fall in love with a female, and that would have been a different story, but this was not it. Really, really desperate on this. But all right, let's anything else? Nothing at all?
Nope.
Not a thing. No. And so we spiral slowly into, or rapidly, depending on how you want to look at it, we spiral into Princess Metra. So we mentioned in our review of Beauty and the Beast, or The Mansion of the Beast, that it seems like every week they're coming up with a new and innovative way to travel around this benighted planet. And this week, they're in a hot air balloon, which they bought an old crate at an auction, apparently, without knowing what the contents were.
Yeah, what were they intending to find? It's like,
I don't know. And it had a hot air balloon in it. So we decided, as a family, to make it our project and learn to fly it and head out across, which I thought air flight was basically banned. So,
I thought so.
This doesn't seem like their best plan.
And they're in the search of the obelisks again, I guess, from the air, which obviously they didn't ever find, at least in this episode.
I guess, in a way, aerial reconnaissance would be a lot better than walking along the path if you could do it. But of course, here's what happens. They come to Metroplex, I think it's called. Metroplex. And they're shot down because they're an alien object invading their airspace. Well, there you go. Luckily, their laser just put a little hole in it, and they had to land the balloon. But when they landed the balloon, it turns out that everybody looks at Gina, and it's like, whoa, look at her. Look at the hair. Mind you, there's blonde people all over the place, right? But girl comes out of the sky. Look at her. It's her. Turns out, I think she's Princess Metra. The return of Princess Metra. Their 200-year ago princess who was much beloved and foretold that she would someday return. And it's his added credibility because Gina has a medallion that's a silver dollar with Kennedy on it.
Yeah.
And they see that and they're like, oh, this is exactly like Princess Metra's medallion. And they pull out Princess Metra's medallion and it's also a John F. Kennedy dollar. And they're like, okay, that's kind of weird. But there's this woman who's the prime manager, not the prime minister, prime manager. And obviously she doesn't like the fact that the princess is back because she's in charge, but now she's not in charge. She's just, a lackey. She doesn't like being a lackey because that's what people who were previously in charge and they get bumped down by some kid who flies in out of a balloon. And so she, basically wants her dead. So she sends her to the test to see if she really is a Princess Metra because she knows she isn't because everybody who tries dies. And the computer asks her these questions. And it's like, oh, groovy, man. I'm going to ask you some questions. I forget what the question is.
Father of your country.
Who's the father of your country? And the answer is, well, father of my country is George Washington. It's like, correct.
Far out.
Far out. Groovy. And let's see, what was the second question? That was also an easy one. Oh, yes, it's smaller than a basketball, but bigger than a golf ball. What is it? It's a baseball. Right on. And then finally, it's based on your medallion, what was this man's favorite German phrase? And she fights around with it. And
Benign
Berliner. Yeah. And I'm not sure. Did he say I'm a pastry or did he say I'm a Berliner from Berlin? I don't know whether she got it right. And which is right? Is the wrong one right or is the right one right? Or is the one that he said right? Well, whatever it was, she got it. And she gets in and they're like, oh, she's the princess. So they try to kill her, but she doesn't like all the things that are going on because this is her episode. And, there's slaves and there's people doing stuff that the prime manager wants but nobody else wants. And she ruffles a lot of feathers. And eventually it has to stage a revolt because that's the kind of girl she is. Saves the day, kills the prime manager. She doesn't do it. Somebody else kills the prime manager. The man she loves kills the prime manager. And that's that story. And they leave in their balloon, which has been miraculously repaired by the people in Prime Metra. So now that's your summary, David. Take it away. What do you think of this one?
I thought this one was, it's obviously a lot better than Mansion of the Beast, which was, for the most part, nothing. I felt from the point of the series, this is one we're actually starting to learn a little bit more, on their quest. And I felt like maybe we're going to go somewhere with it. It was still the basic plot, somebody comes in and takes over and
tries to run justly.
Yeah. There was nothing, original about that. You've seen that in dozens of shows as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, though, that they had and we do, at one point, the princess goes in and sees the hologram of the girl.
The previous Princess Metra.
His name was Clancy or something, and she didn't look anything like her, but maybe it's her American accent. Yeah. But she's from 1964.
Yes.
And had they issued John F. Kennedy
probably not
dollars in 64? They probably struck them pretty quickly after his assassination, but I don't know how quickly.
Were they done that? I didn't think they were.
I don't know. I wasn't born until 64, so
something
late 64.
I don't recall seeing those with 70s written on them. I don't know of any 1960s.
This is something we could probably look up on the internet, but back then they didn't have the internet when they were writing this, so they could have been told. I have totally no idea. But that was 200 years ago in Otherworld time. So, one, we learn that Otherworld time and our time are either not synchronized, or they run at different speeds, or, that upsets Trace because he doesn't know now when they're going to get back home. He could be an old man, and his friends are just going down the graduation aisle.
Yep. I'm thinking to push him in a wheelchair.
I'm thinking at this point you've lived the life of hard knocks. You don't really need to get that diploma. That's Trace. So.
You don't know about corn anyway, right?
And you've been made a man by the zone troopers, boy. Of course, the prime manager wants to have her killed because she's doing unpopular things. And when I say unpopular things, she's doing very popular things. In fact, she's a very popular princess. And she's trying to do what's right. This is, of course, the family thing again.
Yes.
Talking about, Gina, we know you have to listen and you got to do it, but you do what's right and what you think is in your heart. And, of course, that always in government makes very powerful enemies. The captain of the guard falls in love with her, and she falls in love with the captain of the guard, of course. So I don't think it will be too surprising to you to know that, predictably, the captain of the guard, and the prime manager managed to kill each other in the final confrontation to save Gina's life and end the threat. And that was utterly predictable. Because she couldn't fall in love with somebody and then have them actually be truly in love. It's not like Trace's girlfriends that are just in him for the money.
Yeah.
This was true love. There were just little tears and kissing and all that stuff, and it was very sad. So we were to don't let me get off on topic like this. Bring me back to what we're talking about, which is the girl from the other dimension, from Earth. Ruled, she gave us some story. Who cares?
She was adopted by, I guess, a king.
I guess. Yeah. So she genuinely was the princess. She was adopted, but she came from Earth, had been a slave, and then got saved. And then after she'd ruled and tried to rule very justly, and she decided she had to go to Emar, which is the place where you gotta go to get back to Earth. And also, she repeats exactly the same thing that was the only piece of information we could get from the Beast last week. You've got to go to Emar, to the
Valley
of Isolation or something like that, where death comes but not by the sword or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It doesn't really matter because this is the last episode and we're never going to find that out. So we get a little clue. So obviously we got a story arc going here, which is always, I love a story arc when you're in a show that's going to die after 6 episodes.
But obviously when they're written, they don't know this going in, and that's not your plan. I mean, the show could have been a top 10 hit for all they know.
Really?
Well,
really?
That's what I assume. That's what all networks plan on for any new show coming out. They plan on it going somewhere. At least getting a full season of 22, 24 episodes. And that would have made, like Mansion of the Beast would have just been that filler episode, which wouldn't look as bad, except when we only have 8 episodes. Everything looks bad. If we had a whole season of them, who knows? Maybe these could have just been the bad of the good. You never know.
Then we decided to make the bad ones first. I have a difficult time thinking that somebody looked at these scripts and thought anything other than, well, I hope we just don't get crushed too badly by Columbo or whatever's on.
Yeah.
Because they're just so... Ben and I have had this conversation on, I think, probably talking about Man from Atlantis.
Okay.
But do the people who write these things, do they think we're this stupid? Man, seriously. I mean, this is written at a level that I can't fathom. I know that these are done in Family Hour.
Yeah. Isn't at least for our time in Arizona, it's like 7 p.m. Like that first hour is geared for the kids and the family. Right. Then 8's maybe the PG-13 level, and then after 9 is when you can do a little more adult stuff.
Yes, I mean that's true. I think generally in every night, and if you get stuck in that slot and you're not a family show, you have a very, very difficult time because they just basically emasculate your scripts. And I thought this show was made for that slot.
Yeah.
So maybe this is written for 10-year-olds.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think it's insulting the intelligence of 10-year-olds, but maybe it's written for 10-year-olds, and maybe...
Yeah, we get that whole lowest common denominator, too. You got to entertain the masses.
But if it were written for 10-year-olds, why doesn't Smith ever get a part? I mean, isn't that where you usually put the precocious kid shows, so that the kids are like, I could be precocious like him, I think I'll go...
he can solve all the problems.
Yeah, I'm cool. My name's Wesley. I mean...
I'd say it was, I mean, you're not really calling it science fiction, but I think it's more light sci-fi. It was a family thing. I don't even know, I mean, was there any other sci-fi shows on at the time? I mean, this is still before Next Generation came around and other stuff.
They're pretty few and far between.
I mean, what did we have before that? Powers of Matthew Starr in the early 80s, The Phoenix. I mean, there's nothing, there's no really good sci-fi shows at that time.
We're probably missing like a classic. But the ones I can think of off the top of my head are...
And we're talking American
70s.
television, obviously. I mean, obviously in Britain you have Doctor Who, Blake Seven had aired, Sapphire and Steel had aired, all the great stuff.
And over here we had Otherworld. I don't know. I mean, the ones I can think of are like Logan's Run, 70s. Planet of the Apes, 70s. Man from Atlantis, obviously, 70s. Invisible Man with David McCallum,
that was 70s.
Moving into the 80s, Fantastic Journey.
That was like 79, I think. That was late 70s.
So 70s.
Because Next Gen was mid to late 80s.
Yeah, that sounds right. War of the Worlds would be the same time.
Yeah, and Babylon 5 and all those shows. And then that's obviously when, they were true science fiction and, better production values, more money put into them. Yeah, but mid-80s, I can't think of really anything. Misfits of Science?
The mid-80s wasteland. The mid-80s wasteland, I guess. We were too busy with MTV during the 80s, so that was we were out of phase on that. Anything we can do not to talk about Otherworld, isn't it? That's all it is, folks. It's just an opportunity. And that's what, that's what Fusion Patrol is all about, really, is this is what happens when you sit down after watching these shows and two guys talking about a TV show that they watched and watching the conversation organically flow along the way. And sometimes the shows just haven't got what it takes to keep our attention. But what did keep my attention, and I think you were alluding to it, was, hey, Gina went on a little trip, didn't she? At one point, she picks up the hot rocks or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
She was in isolation, and then they started breaking out the the Funhouse mirror, which I think, let's be fair. I don't know how old the actress is who was playing Gina. I don't think she's 12.
No.
I think she's
probably in 20 at least.
Probably 20 years old. You know how that goes. They pick a short 20-year-old girl to play a sort of a younger one, and that goes horribly awry when you get into shows like Charles in Charge. But because the young one, like Smith, they just have to get a kid, but then the teenage ones, they just get sort of young-looking 20s, and then if the show had gone on, then Smith would be like 6'12", and Gina would still look exactly the same when she's supposed to be now. Anyway, so basically the point here is that you could be forgiven for looking at this girl and saying that she is an attractive young lady and not think you're a pedo. But I think it's an unfortunate use of the Funhouse mirrors to make her breasts look enormous in that sequence. I mean, they start bending it around, and the absolute first shot is her breasts just go out on the screen. You're going, well, that's unusual.
Not complaining or anything, but
but it did look kind of funny straight out there, and you like, was that really necessary? And then she's fighting and stuff, and then they go into this. I don't know. It was not clear to me what it was. I mean, a trip. I mean, she's up in a dark room. There's mist. There's 2 doors with stained glass. She waves imperiously her right hand, and the right door opens, and she waves imperiously her left hand, and the left door opens.
The right side's like fire, and the left side's light.
She goes through the light, and then she's flying through the forest, and there's negative and positive, and over some water, and looking at things and birds flying by, and boats. I mean, it's just, and it's all set to this sort of this electronic rock score. Now, we haven't talked a lot about the score. I think we mentioned it, but the theme is by Sylvester LeVay, who is, I'm going to say, best known for Airwolf theme.
Okay.
And also, if you look at iTunes, the soundtrack to Hot Shots. But he didn't do the incidental music for this episode. A guy named Jim Roberts did, and I think maybe Jim was trying to get an album plugged or something, because this vision quest that she's on, montage of images and her face and stuff, 6.5 minutes long.
Timed out that long. Wow.
Over 6.5 minutes. It didn't make 7. 6.5 minutes long of just these things. Talk about time to kill. It's like listening to an episode of Fusion Patrol talking about an episode of Otherworld. They were killing some time.
No dialogue or anything. Yeah, it was just all
a couple
video.
words here and there. Remember, there was one point where she had a flashback of something, hang on to it or die or something like that, which totally not the thing to say. And also then at one point she sees some buildings. She goes, Imar.
Yeah, that was towards the end there. With the 3 towers.
Yeah, the 3 towers. And later on, it's revealed that she had a vision quest, and that was actually showing us the way to Imar.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you.
I have no idea how to get there.
There is no way she could possibly have interpreted what she saw into the path to Imar. So, the family don't have much to do in this episode.
Nope.
Except to organize a revolt.
And they were considered to be her counselors. I don't even know if it was even brought up that they were her family. She came down, oh, that's Princess Metra, and then
let these people go too. Yeah. And they said, okay, well, fine. And they put them all and treated them like royalty, but she was the princess, and they were. At one point, she discovers that basically this place runs on slavery, so she decides to release the slaves. Now, so here's the trick, and this boils down to that whole family thing again, or really, it's not the family thing, but it's that kind of do what's right.
Yeah,
they're really big on the do what's right angle from this show. You got to do what's right over and over again, even if you pay a heavy price and self-sacrifice. So basically, Gina got to give like the queen's speech, although it would be obviously the princess's speech, and the prime manager doesn't want her to do some of the things that she thinks she's going to do, which will be very revolutionary, like freeing the slaves and shutting down the sweatshops and letting them have families and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. And so she threatens them. She captures the captain who she's in love with, And she captures their family, and she says, look, your speech tomorrow, it could be very nice speech. Might be very inflammatory, or it could be a very, very friendly speech towards me. And if it's a very friendly speech towards me, I won't kill your family, I won't kill your boyfriend, and I won't kill you. Or it could be, and I could even let them go. I could let you go. I could give you safe conduct on your way to Emar. Gina Sterling, proving that she knows who she is and not the Princess Metra. But of course, what does Gina do? What does Princess Metra do? Of course, she does the right thing. She frees the slaves. Yes. I mean, that's what you do when you're a hero in a wholly unrealistic show, and they're going to kill you and your family and everybody. You stand up for what's right, but luckily Dad's got an ace up his sleeve. He's got the access crystal, so he and the boy, Trace, not Smith, meet up with the rebels, and they get a revolution going. And they use the access crystal to get some guns, because guns are what you need for a revolution. And that's basically it. They have a revolution. When she frees them, they all go out and get guns and then have a bloodless coup. And then, of course, we have that scene where they die and the boyfriend dies.
His last words, I love you.
Actually, he did say love in a very funny way, didn't he? It was kind of like, I love you.
What's his last breath? I mean, what do you expect?
He took the time to make his words funny. Like, I just wanted you to have a smile on your face. And he says, I died. It's like, get a little laugh from me. And because she was so sad and everyone loved her, then the remaining people got together and they formed a coalition government, and everyone lived happily ever after. They repaired the balloon and off they flew to follow the dream path that Gina memorized.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Did this episode as a series finale, did it do the show justice?
Well, definitely not.
Did any episode of Otherworld in retrospect?
Well, I think the first one, it was an interesting concept that they set it up with, and they went from there.
But I don't know. I mean, in retrospect, at the time we kind of were kind to it, but isn't the plot of going to the place where everybody's an android and you don't know it, isn't that another one of those stories that we see regularly on these shows? So was there an original script in the whole bunch? So you've got the Android City, you've got the boot camp story, you've got the rock and roll story, you've got the motorcycle gang story, the Beauty and the Beast story, the substitute princess, and the island where people disappear. And Women's Lib Gone Crazy. Right? 8 episodes. Were any of them remote? I mean, the Women's Lib one, how ham-fisted was that? You take that story where you do the reverse role things and like, oh, you were slaves now. And I was like, it was nothing. No. The only thing that was imaginative about the show was the trappings, the differences in technology, the way the people lived. Maybe the Church of the Artificial Intelligence, if we could get...
Yeah, we didn't get too much on that.
Get something about that might be interesting. But in the rock and roll episode, they basically spelled it out that that's not a real church. I can't believe I just used that phrase. It's not an authentic religion. It's a mechanism of control. Unlike the others. Wow. Putting the foot in it tonight. It's late. I've had to watch 2 episodes of Otherworld, both of them abysmally bad. In other words, it's actually a very, very cynically constructed, not even remotely organic religion. It is the Praetor's arm. It's his official arm. It's the Church of England to take over from the cat. It's not a good organization gone bad or anything like that. I mean, there isn't really any kind of feel that this actually grew up out of a sense of worship. This feels more like a mega church where they've just sort of, by the numbers, we're going to set one up.
Yeah. Think more like Scientology?
If
you want to go that way.
Oh, yeah. Or Mormonism. just having fun tonight. The blooper reel is going to be great on this one. I don't know that there is an exact parallel to that. I mean,
yeah. But, they didn't really delve into it that much. I mean, what do we have? Maybe 5 minutes total even mentioning
all of those examples, which I won't rename, they are either some sort of movement that is then harnessed and becomes a power structure, or they are an artificial attempt to form a power structure where a power structure did not previously exist. It's like, how do I get rich? Oh, I know. Start a religion.
Yeah.
That's a quote from somebody, but I'm not going to say who. And then proceeded to do so. As opposed to, say, the Church of England, which, Henry VIII set up so that A, he could get a divorce, and B, so that he could take all the money away from the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
On his own behalf and become the ruler of said thing. So that's a little closer, but it kind of co-opted an existing one, if that makes sense. I mean, all the people were already had their Catholic beliefs in Jesus and the Bible and all that sort of stuff. And so then we just kind of changed it a little bit and set up some new trappings. Whereas the Church of Artificial Intelligence appears to be, I've got this thing. What do I need? I need a religion to be my, so that it looks like there's something balancing against me, but there isn't. And I think that would have been interesting to explore. But I kind of feel like they squandered that by giving too much of it away in the rock and roll episode, needlessly, because it didn't really advance that story.
No.
That I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, because we have had hints. We had hints in the Motor Pigs episode that there are other unofficial religions, and Emar crushes them. Because there is only the one true religion, the Church of the Artificial Intelligence. We also saw that in this episode, where they're doing the King Solomon stuff, where people are bringing their cases to Princess Metra, and she has to decide what is the course of justice. And let's talk a couple of those. This province has a rule against animals that eat meat.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
Because the guy's got a carnivorous, I'm assuming a hawk or an eagle or something, and that's against the rules. How do they stop the birds from flying across that eat meat? I mean, if you eliminate the animals that don't eat meat, then little animals that are meat overrun, and of course, then the animals that eat meat come into your area, so
yeah,
it didn't make a whole lot of...
Not really.
Maybe they meant you couldn't have them as pets.
It's a possibility.
Again, seems a little, and didn't, oh no, wait a minute. Now, hold on a second here. Now, just a second. What was it that this bird was accused of doing?
He was eating the head off of a pig or something.
Pigs ate meat.
Yeah.
Pigs eat anything. Other pigs, people, your eyeglasses. It doesn't matter. Pigs will eat anything. They eat meat. Those are carnivorous. I don't know if they're considered carnivorous animals or not. They're omnivorous animals.
Yeah.
That's a meat eater. She should have killed them both. They were both at fault here.
And actually, something that just popped up back in about this episode: the kids. I mean, we're talking about the slavery, but they all lose their children, and they're just put into what were they put to sleep, and then they just sit there for 45 years, and then they kill them or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't make a whole lot of work.
I didn't know what they were going with that.
That didn't make any sense at all. I thought. I couldn't figure... I mean, they had what they called the micro workers.
Yeah, which are the slaves.
As opposed to the macro executives. All right. And the micro workers were out, having a little picnic when the balloon arrived. Or perhaps a revolution meeting. I don't know what's going on there. So they're not brainless zombies.
No.
Right? But they're not allowed to get married. They're not allowed to have children. They're not allowed to whatever. But during Gina's tour, she sees these kids who are on these daises, and they've got light streaming down on them, and they're basically vacant.
Yeah.
And they're not doing anything as far as I can tell. And when she said, what's going on? They said, these are the micro workers. So I kind of thought, by the way he said that this is how they worked. That perhaps their brains were being used somehow?
Possible, but the micro workers we see they seem to be of normal intelligence from what we could tell. So obviously,
yeah, they're just people.
Yeah,
people's people, huh? I have no idea. It didn't make any sense, but they wanted their kids back.
Yeah.
even though they're not allowed to have kids. So I don't know how you slip one of those out without somebody noticing, frankly. So we were on the adjudication. There was the woman who was of a different religion. Yeah. And she had some religious materials and wanted to live in peace. And the I keep saying prime minister, prime manager, said, well, you have to put her to death because that's the law. Anyone with anything is not Church of the Artificial Intelligence must die. And Gina, of course, is like, well, it's fine. It's okay. She's not hurting anybody. So let her do her thing. I thought that was, again, it's like we're getting pieces to the puzzle, but I don't know where they're going with it. And I don't know. I have a feeling that when we got to it at the end, it wasn't going to be worth it. Because there have been these moments in this show America is accused of being very religious on their sleeves, as witnessed by every American president for the last 20 years has to end every press conference with "God bless America, God bless you all," or "God bless this," or whatever. And this show kind of has that feel to it because they just occasionally, you can say, well, let's pray you're wrong, right? You can say that and not mean let's actually pray. Exactly. But when this family says things like that, I believe them. I believe they mean actually that they're going to sit down and dinner and say grace. And I get that feeling from them. So at the end of the princess's speech, I thought this was really weird. I mean, after she does all this revolutionary stuff and it's like they're all free and they can have their own children back and they can have children, they can get married, and they can vote, and they can do all those things. And so is the word of the princess. God bless us all, she says, or something like that.
Yeah. It was out of place.
It was like, does the Church of the Artificial Intelligence even have a God? I think they asked that question, didn't they? And they don't. Correct. So, this might be that's put to death kind of stuff then. Not just, I'm the boss and I'm letting the slaves free. I don't know. I think that's because of the hour of the day. Again, if this was the family slot show, that's the kind of stuff that they would put in those things. They were much more shows that showed people going to church or doing things like that. So,
well, you had mentioned in an earlier episode when they just had the passing line of the Church of the Artificial Intelligence that you were surprised and that even got through with the censors.
Yeah,
so
the censors had trouble with that.
It's come up more and more in the episodes. Maybe the whole her end of the speech. Maybe that was the network say, "Hey, you got to put that in there if because it's a Christian nation that's watching this show or something." You never know.
They do things like that. Yeah. You can watch a TV show and sometimes you can feel like you just see network interference. Yeah. So I don't know. Any final conclusions? I mean, we're done. We're done with Otherworld. We're not going to come back to Otherworld. It's not like Man from Atlantis where we left a few episodes dangling out there where if I were really, really wanted to be mean to somebody, I could come back and say, let's do a couple more episodes of Man from Atlantis. I've got those. And, but this show is, it's nothing.
I mean, it had some interesting concepts with the provinces and stuff. But overall, like you said, all the stories, we've seen them all before. And I think that's what they were and trying to appeal to the most broadest of spectrum of viewers. Obviously, nobody watched it or the show would have been canceled.
I believe that you and I have joined a small elite crowd of people who may have actually been the only people on Earth who've seen all 8 episodes. I keep on saying 6 because there isn't even enough content for 6 episodes here. They could have probably made a 2-hour movie out of this and eliminated a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't mean this episode. I mean the entire series. Yeah. So, David, thank you for subjecting yourself to this horrific torture of Otherworld. I'm not even sure it's no problem. This isn't even like horrific torture. I mean, this is not like Man from Atlantis is like sandpaper. Yeah. And this is like somebody's like, would you just stop dripping water on my elbow?
Well, I think I like the show a little bit better than you did, but it wasn't great television, but I think I had a little more fun with them than.
But you watched it when it was first out.
I'd seen some of the episodes.
See, you have fond, nostalgic memories of it that were formed in your brain at an early age, and so now it's triggering endorphins or triggering stored memories that give you sort of flashback
Yeah.
things. Like,
It's very possible.
listeners, thank you, and hope next week it'll be better. And David, thank you again.
Not a problem.
And we hope you'll all join us again next time on Fusion Patrol. Fusion Patrol is a Lone Locust production. Like us, leave us a review on iTunes. Or stop by and visit at our website, fusionpatrol.com. Find us on Facebook or Twitter. Search for Fusion Patrol. Or just drop us a note at feedback@fusionpatrol.com. Our music is Fight the Future by Amber Wolf.